if I'm doing this right. It's supposed to be going live. Mm-mm. All right. This is again a whole new world for me. All right, y'all, we live. Yes, 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 yes. Uh-oh, y'all gotta excuse me. This did I? This is my first time doing this by myself. But welcome to the Hood Talks podcast. I am so excited to have my guest here today with me to talk about this, this, as Justin just said, spicy topic. Oh my God, y'all. Us against us. Let's talk accountability, Black folks. Oh my God. So I definitely want to just jump into it, but I do want to talk about the t-shirt giveaway that is going on now. It starts now. You will be put in a drawing for the Hood Talks t-shirt. I don't know if you guys were able to see that, but the Hood Talks t-shirt, we have different varieties, different things that the Hood talks about can go on the shirt. But to get into the drawing, you have to share this live, be following us on Facebook, and also comment in the comment section done. And once you do that, at the end of this live, I will collect all the names, put them in a drawing, and whoever the winner is, I will announce it later on today. And now that that's out the way, I am going to give my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves to you all. I'm going to go ahead and let the ladies go first, and I'm going to start with who I see first on my screen. So don't shoot me, Miss Kelly, but I do see you first. So once Miss Kelly go, Tasha follow up, and then I see Mr. Haki and then Justin. But go ahead, y'all. Let's go ahead and introduce yourselves. Tell these people who y'all is.
All right, what's going on, beautiful people? I am Kelly McGowan. I am a proud resident of the 18th Ward in the city of St. Louis, born and raised St. Louis and through. And I am just really ready to do whatever it is to make sure Black people win in St. Louis. I know it's a lot of issues. We're going to talk about that later on. My lens is through looking at health. I have a public health background. So just making sure that, our Black people, our Black and brown folks, if we're healthy, we're going to thrive and we're going to win. So really partnering with other folks like Shavannah, Tasha over there, my partner in community, and really figuring out how can we move the needle and ensure that we are well and we are thriving when things are designed against us. So that's it.
Yes, and real quick, shout out to Kelly because she is collaborating with me and Mr. Allen himself on the oh look, don't shoot me, Kelly, my mind. But on the Kicking It for a Cause event that will be happening next Saturday on the 20th at 5:00, y'all. It's a flyer circling around, it's an event circling around. Go like it and be in tune and come out and show us some love on that. This definitely a dope event. But yeah, I just wanted to plug that real quick. Go ahead, Tasha.
Yeah, absolutely. Check it out, y'all. I'm Tasha. I'm the co-director and founder of Evolve with Kelly. And we're just working really with the community on being in control of their food systems and their built environment. And the only way that we're gonna do that if we build unity. We don't have to think alike, but we should be moving in one accord.
Okay, yes. Say that, honey. Say that. And Mr. Haki, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, ma'am. Hakeem Mitchell Hurd, hail from St. Louis, Missouri. I guess my background would be advocate for children. I started a nonprofit organization called ACOP, Assisting Children of Prison Parents, back in 2008. It's a federally recognized organization. Besides that, among other things, I'm a community activist. I'm over here in the 21st Ward, right here on Shreve off of 70. And I really got a foothold in this neighborhood right here. So we're doing a community event on the 27th. I want everybody to try to come out for, where we're doing a community cleanup and just basically awareness to the community about my organization and other organizations that we're partnering with. We'll get into a bunch more who I am, but it's not relevant at this point right now.
All righty, and Mr. Justin himself, please.
Hey, thank you. I'm Justin Eidelberg, Community Catalyst of Equity and Innovation. I'm from the West Side, the Forgotten West Side, as I call it. I'm a racial equity strategist. I'm the co-chair of Creative Reaction Lab. I sit on the board for the Delmar Divine Project, which is a $110 million redevelopment of the old regional St. Luke's Hospital, which is going to become a nonprofit workspace and community space, and also apartments. And I'm just here to try to make the West Side the best place, starting with the kids, the elders, and all the other important folks they can fend for themselves. You know, they sit on boards and know these people. So I'm just here to help us all be great and go back to doing aquaponics when I'm all done. So
When I say y'all, we have a dope panel right here. These people are some dope people that I've been able to meet and been able to collaborate with and talk to and all the good stuff. So again, I'm so thankful for you guys taking time out of your busy Saturdays, coming here and gracing the Hood Talks podcast platform. And if there is nothing else, I'm ready to dive in because I think this is a good topic. I do want to start off with talking about the Willie Lynch speech and the things that he said. So I do want to read something from that speech before we dive too deep. This is something that was pulled from the speech. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. Age, but it's there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. Their intelligence, size, sex, size plantations, status on plantation, attitude of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley, on the hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that the distrust is stronger than trust and envy is stronger than audation, respect, or admiration. Not to forget, you must pitch the old Black man versus the young Black man. The young Black man against the old Black man. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all Blacks, but it is necessary your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. So from the snippet of hearing that, you all, how do you think slavery and racism played a part in the divide of the Black culture, race, and community? Anybody?
Okay, I'll start off. I think it's irrelevant. I think that letter was irrelevant just as much then as it is now. I don't even think should be circulating, is my point. I don't think that you should reiterate and continue to express let me say a mind state. You shouldn't express a mind state or a mindset that is destructive. You don't want to perpetuate that. You don't want to continue to read that. You don't not taking shots at you, Savannah, for reading it. I know the purpose of reading it on this segment, but I don't think it should be circulated anymore. I think it should be destroyed. I think it should be buried with everything else they try to bury of our culture. Since that's something from their culture, I don't think it should be read. I don't think it should be perpetuated to our children and our culture. It shouldn't even have no place in our culture. Is what I'm saying.
Hey, Haki, so
Yes,
what
sir.
you talking about, if you think about it, if you ain't got no family that do diving into history, you won't even know the Willie Lynch letter even exists.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know the Willie Lynch letter existed until I was like 27, 28 years old.
Exactly.
And when I read it, it was like in the middle of the night. I'm crying. I'm over one of my girlfriend's house. I'm over. She's like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, man, I just read the coldest letter I've ever read in my life. When that man sat there and said, put the husband in front of everybody and whoop him, ain't nobody gonna respect him no more. It's gonna show you weak. Like, so if we don't go look for this, we won't even know. But also what Brother Hakeem was talking about, how can we use this as a building tool for what we don't want to continue going?
Yep.
You know, like that's where my mind at.
Me
You
too.
said we're gonna do X, Y, Z. What does it look like for us to do X, Y, and Z? And we see this in other cities or maybe some places here or with some cliques of people, you know, but it's not enough. And I'm gonna shut up.
I'll chime in. I think that I get it about a building tool. But I don't think enough of us have actually read and studied that lecture. Because when I read it, my compassion level for our people went to another level. My love for us went to another level. My patience for us went to, and my fight for us went to another level. Because we're not just talking about a letter of, it's not something to say, hey, we gonna put this in their mind and make them subconsciously think they lesser than. But it's more so in the mind of a white person of this is how you keep them down, right? And fighting amongst each other. And so when you study a letter like Willie Lynch, you ask the question, dang, they did this in what I think was, I don't want to say 1619, but he's on the James River during that time. And you mean to tell me they did something, they crafted something so well that in 2021, we still see it playing out? Let's study this, let's discuss this, and let's talk about how we heal 7 years behind us, but how we build 7 years in the future. So history, Malcolm X said history is, and excuse me for paraphrasing, history is best reward is researcher. I can't remember the quote, but like, you think you got to understand history and know what was and what happened to know how we get to this place, how we heal from it, and how we push forward. So when you think, a lot of young people don't know the Willie Lynch letter. If you think about the Willie Lynch letter, and if we had these conversations with young people, right? And you say, look at, this is all part of a plan, right?
Right.
And you plan right into a plan that somebody else has for your life.
Yes.
Maybe then we can talk, that can open a discussion to talk about this high violence that we see. Maybe we can talk about this great divide that we seeing against the Black man and the Black woman currently. Because man, that I read that in 2005 when I became Muslim, and I never would have thought in 2021 I'm seeing some of the things that letter details. That's why I know the masses of us have not studied that letter, because social media show you this heightened war between Black men and Black women. And
yeah, I want to piggyback off of that, you know, what Tasha mentioned in the importance of understanding history is not just so you can repeat facts, but it's to have an understanding of like how things have impacted where we are today, and really being able to unpack that so we can learn those lessons, not only learn the successes, but learn the failures and the mistakes so that we don't experience those L's over and over and over again. And I think in understanding our history and where we're coming from, I mean, yeah, it's real. Like that's deep. Even you reading that again, every time I hear that, it does something to my spirit. But I think we have to revisit that, and we have to acknowledge it and call it out and really highlight again, this is how we treat one another. And I think it causes you to really assess, like, dang, like Tasha said, this is 2021. We still doing this stuff that was laid out in this plan centuries ago. So how can I, as a Black woman, how can I make sure, number one, recognize how I'm showing up and how I'm treating my other brothers and sisters, right? And how can I combat that design to make things better, to shift that narrative and to shift that plan that has been ingrained in our society for centuries? So how can I use this information to create a shift in how I show up and how I treat other people? It starts with us, right? And so for me, that letter and revisiting today, it just, again, it just reaffirms and confirms like the work that we're trying to do to bring people together. But it's by design. It's by design. So the fact that we hate on one another, we do all this, oh, I don't like so and so, and da da da. All these divisions were created. And if we continue to feed into that mess, we doing what they want us to do every time. And sometimes people, they don't recognize that. They don't know, dang, this exists, this letter exists. They don't know. And it's really vital and it's important that we are able to acknowledge that and share it with folks, not in a way to bring people down, and but we need to understand this is our history. This is by design. And if we trying to redesign things, we really have to acknowledge this and unpack this, right? So we can move forward.
Yeah, it definitely goes back to like what Justin was saying with like learning from it. And okay, so this is what I've unfortunately been taught. And sometimes it might not even be what does they call it? It's in the back of your mind. And you know what I mean? It's not in, you're not trying to do it, but it's been embedded in you for generations. Yeah, your subconscious mind. So then now, okay, you get aware of it and you start to do the work to change it. And so that's kind of what the plan was, to bring awareness to it. So we can talk about also this is happening still today, and how are we going to address it moving forward as a people. So yeah.
Well, I started off the conversation about that. So I want to kind of clarify what I was saying about, it really don't have any place, is because, when you have uneducated people and you're dealing with an uneducated mind, when you bring awareness to certain things, you're not necessarily, I want to say, solving or dealing with the issue. You're not necessarily doing it, because the uneducated mind, they can't even see. It can't even see, because it's psychological. Most of the things we're dealing with is psychological. So when I'm talking about an uneducated mind, I'm talking about an uneducated mind who is not psychologically developed. So you cannot, I can tell you what you cannot do. It's not beneficial to revisit something that an uneducated mind cannot even comprehend the level of the plan that was put forth in that letter. So what I'm saying is, an uneducated mind is going to skim the surface of that letter, and they're not going to get the meat of what's in the letter to try to solve that issue that may be psychological in their own person. It takes an educated mind to read that letter and to deal with the letter. So what I'm saying is, maybe we get a selective board of people to dive into that letter, really pick it apart, dig into it, and really then bring about how to change those concepts and those ideas that were still, stagnating in our minds. I don't think it should be something that taught to our children. I don't think that children should be reading that letter, is what I'm saying.
Two things. Thank you for that. And I don't want you to think that, like, you made some valid points in the beginning, and I definitely was following what you were saying. It's this, I can't think of it. Yeah, my memory is like, wow, right now, because it's growing season. So the only thing on my mind is plants. But it's this guy. He has an independent school for young Black boys who like been put out of school. And one, we underestimate our young people. They smart. Man, I got a bookshelf right here. I got like things like Jackson Rising. All of these things. My son is 9. He no longer can read books on his level. You got to come out, read these. But he's on this level though, reading wise. So we have to think more of our youth, right? And we have to put into them what we want to see our future, right? And so like when you think about like, what are we teaching them, right? Man, these young people out here are running businesses, right? Illegal and legal businesses. And so like you think about like some of the creative things that they've done in front of us in technology, and they taking this technology and just soared, right? We got to show, hey, look, it's something that's they gonna, what's that say, they say that talk you got to have with your children about police. We have to have a talk with our children about this country, what is done to us, and how do we overcome collectively as a community. So, but what I was trying to get with the guy who has the school though, he has them reading things like they came before Columbus.
Mm.
I mean, these are middle school to high man, and it's not just like, you don't just hand them something like that and tell them gone about your way. But
Right.
but it's done, it has to be just like that was done strategically. We have to do things strategically as well. Because when you see those slave photos, that was young white children in them photos. So that indoctrination on our side from babies, just like on their side, it was from babies as well. So
It's in-
lynching, you see 10 9-year-olds at the lynching. You see it, you know, and so yeah, we, you know, like absolutely, let's get together, let's talk about how do we overcome the Willie Lynch letter. I think that I'm seeing it more in this generation than ever before. And I say that in the context of the whole of America, not St. Louis. We got work to do, St.
I was
Louis.
like, St. Louis got work to do. What you was gonna say, Justin? We do got work to do. We do. We behind in the game. But we working. We working. What you was gonna say, Justin?
I was gonna say, Tasha was talking about what they teach us. I was gonna put my hand over my heart and say, our country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, and some more stuff that we don't never get to. Well, I don't say we don't. Some of us don't get to achieve. You know, yeah. So we don't get to do none of that. And none and what they got going on. So how do we change all of that? I'm sitting there thinking, it make me want to go get a T-shirt made from up the street and put on a mug. I am not Willie Lynch. I'm not trifling. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm not that. You know, some of the things that he listed on there, and walk around. And if somebody asks me how I'm not that, I can explain to them, well, you know, I've achieved this in my life. I go about doing this. This is my character. You know, stuff like that. But I was just trying to be funny and it went on somewhere else. So
I just think the answer is censorship. I think it's censorship. We're exposing children to information that they cannot understand too soon. We need to be censoring our children from even seeing the Willie Lynch letter until they get to a certain age to even be able to comprehend what was being done.
I got a question for you. Do we censor them as well from everything that America says that they can see?
Most definitely. Most definitely. That's the censorship that needs to go down. What America wants them to see. We
They
need to
see
be
way more on the shot.
We need to be direct. We need to be intentional and direct with what our children see and hear.
Yeah, I absolutely.
hey, don't we got a Dr. Kelly? Ain't you a person of public health over here?
You said doctor.
Something.
Is that
I'm so sorry.
Dr.
Maybe that's God. Maybe that's God coming through me to speak something that Kelly can put into existence. But I was gonna say, this. What you say, Kelly?
I said I am no doctor, but I appreciate that. I appreciate that though.
All right. So let's go to your public health. Think about what the Lily Lynch letter is doing on multiple levels that nobody's paying attention to, not just here. The generational trauma it continues to carry, and I think we need to create some type of culture or community of caring. You know, we can't. Go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, sorry. No, you can finish your thought. I'll follow up.
We talking about censoring our children, but they got the internet, they got the World Wide Web at their fingertips. What we need to be teaching our children something is called one is digital literacy, and for lack of better words, digital courtesy. Because in digital courtesy is like, say if you was doing a FaceTime or some type of video conferencing with some kids somewhere else, and you wouldn't be looking at them kids crazy, talking about these kids live in huts and we live in these houses. You know what I'm saying? Like you wouldn't make fun of it or digital sensitivity, but we got to have something on here because like now our kids don't even have, some of them got the access tools or the resources for the digital or virtual classrooms, but a lot of them don't, you know, and we got to change our kids' perspective of how they use that technology because they reason for, not they use it, the way they're accustomed to using that technology is from an entertainment standpoint versus educational and entertainment standpoint. And I'm shutting up because I'm going to go to a whole digital divide conversation.
No, but that's real. The digital divide, it is real and it exists, unfortunately. But to your point, I think there's an importance of us being able to create norms for ourselves as a people and also within our family structure too. So when you're talking about exposing our little ones to whatever it is, you know, I think that is a norm that needs to be established, right? Not only just internally, but also when we're talking about society as a whole, you know. It's a tough go, but you know, I think that needs to be addressed. And also, you know, when we're talking about within us and our people in the space. So real quick story. When my previous employment experience, my job, my area of expertise, if you want to call it, in public health is programming. So I work on supporting the development, implementation, and evaluation of obesity prevention programming for anybody that's Black or brown, right? And so my previous place of employment, my role was to support the creation of wellness programming for Black women, with Black women, okay, in North County. And so when I would go out and tell people, hey, this is what we're doing, you know, just, you know, doing my research and just making sure I'm tapping into what's happening. Cause, you know, North County is not my home. I'm a city girl. So, you know, I'm talking to people saying, hey, this is what we doing. And I got so much, like, I felt so much discouragement, the most coming from people that look like me. Saying, oh, you girl, you know, that is not gonna happen because you know, Black women, they ain't checking for that. Black women ain't trying to eat healthy. Black women ain't trying to work out. You ain't trying to do that. From people that look like us. This is the feedback that I would get. And so like looking at that from a, you know, my public health, whatever background, but even beyond the data, even beyond the science, we have to focus on us and how we can, again, create norms around what health and wellness looks like. And people are like, oh, you trying to turn people into vegans and vegetarians? Nah, I eat meat, okay? I love my, trust me, I do, okay? So I'm not a vegetarian. I am not a vegan. Shout out to people that are. I don't have that. I don't have that.
I got that skill. I ain't mastered that skill.
But I do think that is really important when we're talking about wellness, when we're talking about health. We define that for ourselves and we're able to implement that instead of saying, oh, Black people, we don't care about our health, because we do care about our health. But it may look differently compared to what, you know, white society, you know, compared to what may be their idea of what health and wellness looks like. It looks different for us because we soulful. We got a little different kind of flavor.
You talking about the Willie Lynch though, Kelly? You kind of getting off topic. You know what I mean? You talking about health and wellness.
This is a conversation flow though. I mean, and she was, I mean, so what we're going to do is respect each other's differences and we're going to have a conversation and be respectful because
I know,
tone, though.
You know me, I'm not trying to be harmful here. I just want to deal with the topic though. You know what I mean? That's why I'm here. I want to deal with the topic.
She is. She
said, but I was utilizing my public health space and background to talk about how we can develop norms within our people. I know you mentioned the censorship and just making sure that we expose our babies and we expose folks to information that isn't harmful for them, but in a way that they can truly understand that. And so again, we have to create norms for ourselves. And, you know, Brother Justin, you know, called me a doctor, but from my perspective, especially when we're talking about the public health field and wellness and all of that, I feel like this is very pertinent and is relevant to when we're talking about Willie Lynch, when we're talking about how we handle that and how we deal with that and how we are able to digest that and really share that with one another. So I really think it's relevant. Everything is connected, bruh. Like everything is connected.
It might be just, I'm just saying it's a time and place. I don't have the luxury of time today. So I want to try to get to the points we're trying to make, you know what I'm saying? So I can make my points and then, you know, we can move on. But, you know, do your thing.
So yeah, I kind of get what you're saying, Kelly, and the wellness, and then it's being well to be able to, like you said, digest all of this, because it is a lot to unpack. It's definitely a different, it's a lot of aspects to these conversations and to this whole situation as people. And you can't not address other things when you address one, because it all is unfortunately a big old connection of circles and webs, and it dives into really in the deep end. So I mean, to kind of get to this, do you think we have it today, the mindsets, and how do we hold ourselves accountable and be intentional about changing those things, the mindsets of what Willie Lynch said in his letter, like the us against us, when we're talking about, again, like you said, it being us that talk about negativity, and we're like, well, why you want to do that? Or I can't go support Black businesses. Black businesses don't have good customer services, or, you know, the men versus the women part of it. You know, I don't want to date Black women because they too angry, or however the things that's in our communities that we talk about amongst each other that are hateful in the tactic of light skin versus dark skin. You know, that's one. Religion, all of these divides. Do you think this mindset we have today, and how do we go about holding ourselves accountable and being intentional about the change?
We gotta, you know, well, I don't know about everybody else growing up, but where I grew up, West Side, it was a saying: when you see something wrong, point it out, say something, and try to figure out how can you correct whatever the issue is, and not to have it come up again, if at all possible. But like now, people don't want to be called out. They don't want to be held accountable because they want to tell you, I'm playing the game. What is playing the game? Playing the game is working out like Monopoly. It's just you on Monopoly. You don't get no family, ain't no partners. It's just you. So if that's the game we playing, why are you playing it with other people's lives so much you represent us? So as long as you got a core group of Black people willing to sit here and play the game and not be held accountable and go run behind the white folks when you go attacking them and act like they the victim, how can you achieve anything? You know, when you have when those who are the most vocal pull a lot of strings, if that makes sense, versus like if all of us lived in a neighborhood where we got 5 or 25 quote unquote important Black people here, we won't get nothing done. Does that make sense, y'all?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and to chime on what you said, absolutely. And that's what I was thinking when you sent the question, Savannah, was like the accountability that we're not, first of all, and speaking St. Louis particularly, but Black people as a whole, man, we personality worship too much, right? And so when we're friends with someone, we're not willing to call that person out. I had an email back and forth with a group that was doing some harmful things in our city that's across that divide. And one of the members emailed me and was, you know, about the relationship we had. I said, and the friendship we had, I said, when it comes to justice for my people and the future of our babies, friendship goes out the window. We have to be willing to stand on the principle. One of the things that when me and Kelly started this org evolve. The reason I went to her was because I saw in her. What do we see in each other, right? Do we see value in each other? I saw value in her work and what she's doing, and I'm like, I'm taking a chance, because we have to shape how we show up for one another, right? When they sent the email, hey, she's no longer, I'm still at somebody else's job, and I told the why that our relationship was no longer in existence because y'all fired somebody that's for the community. How many of us are willing to stand up on that type of principle and to go hard for each other in this and like that? You know what I'm saying? We are afraid to lose. We're afraid to lose crumbs because that's what it is. But in particular, when you think about that Willie Lynch letter, it's more in effect now than my grandmother's generation. Because they knew collectivism. They knew how to work together collectively. They knew how to build community. That's why you see all of these. We looking in the past and seeing Black Wall Street. We looking in the past and seeing marriages and living in the past. How do we bring that but healthier and better now? And so that's the whole thing. Like they worked. It wasn't perfection because they coming out of slavery, but compared to the collectivism they had then versus now, man, it's a wave of difference. And we can't not think about all the trauma that came along with us striving to get ahead in America, whether it was together or separate. We can't forget about the terror in the South and running us off the land. We can't forget about redlining. We can't forget about the war on drugs, mass incarceration. We can't forget about none of that. All of that plays into the part of our growth as a people. And whether we grow and we succeed or whether we continue to be in the place we are today.
I mean, I agree. We definitely have to, I feel like a lot. I'm sorry, but I definitely feel like we have a lot that's dividing us in our mindset today. And I think it's more of mindset because like you said, if you think about it, we have all the tools that we can access to mobilize and move forward and be on a great path to, another Black Wall Street, but we aren't utilizing because we don't want to collectively come together and work together to help move forward. And we don't have in my mind, we're not all on one accord. We don't all have a plan, if that makes sense, to simplify it. We can't all agree on the plan. Right.
What if Willie Lynch came out with a letter of how to be inclusive and how to work together? Would everybody read it?
Nah, I will read what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote. How to separate and build our own.
My point, only reason I asked that question is going back to the Willie Lynch letter that he wrote 10,000 years ago. You know what I mean? Why is it still being read today? It's not relevant. You know what I mean? It's not relevant because we need to solve that issue. We don't need to be going back and talking about why it happened or what he did. And you know what I mean? I'm just trying to make a point of accountability is what we're here to talk about. Accountability is what role did you play? What role did you play in the separation and division of our own people? All of us, each and every one of us played a role in it. So let's deal with today. Let's not deal with what was written back then. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, when we were just talking about us not collectively working together, that's happening today. And so that's when we were talking about we need to move forward and collectively work together and come up with a plan today and moving forward, utilize that plan. But I said we don't even have that today. So
definitely. The only point I was making is if Willie Lynch wrote a letter about a plan today, would we read it? You know what I mean?
I mean, honestly, I think we bypassed the letter and we're just now talking about what is happening in today's world right now and how we can move forward and what's happening with us. I think we bypassed it. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, one of the things is that when you study history, you know how to move forward. We just got off the phone with St. Louis County Planning Committee. And she said several times, went back to it, they wrote this time. They wrote this time. Yeah, you have to know what happened so you can know, oh yeah, accountability here. That's part of the Willie Lynch letter, is that we have always internally blamed ourselves for things that was beyond our control. Man, I ain't never known no Black people that own boats to go into Colombia, to Bogota, or any of that and bring some crack up into my community. But I sure know they was taught how to cook it. My father went to jail because he sold it. And my father started selling drugs as 12. And my mama was out of our lives because she smoked it. The choices that she made, that she had to pay for, and that all of the things that we had to pay for collectively as a community for the downfall, we've been paying for them. We've been addressing them. We've been holding each other accountable. Man, but what we ain't did was hold this country accountable for how at every chance that we try to be successful, they knock us. We could talk about us against us all day long and point the finger, but the thing is that our communities didn't get like this because we sat around being us against us, mad at each other, right? Our communities got through this from a systematic standpoint, from redlining, from people who, like Justin said, that will put profit over community, which is not by standards of where we come from, that continent. Community is everything, right? And tribe is everything. When you're we got politicians who have spent decades in office, who they mind ain't the same mind as us, a Black mind, they got white minds because they siding with them at every chance and they do the same thing. Well, the community is against the community. Man, so like when I say things like, man, me showing up for Kelly and saying, let's start our own, and going and talking to, not only do I tell her when they fire her, do I not only show up for her, right? And say, sis, I believe in you, right? But I also said, man, let's go get this bag. I know the value of you. So that's showing the whole thing with Black women and saying Black women don't get along.
Right.
Now, here you go. I believe in my sister and I'm showing up for just like she shows up for me. And I went and got this bag and we out here doing this work for community. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how you show our babies that one, yeah, we had this division in community, but the reality is that now what's our actions gonna be? Right? So I'm showing up for Kelly and Kelly's showing up for me. And we two Black women in St. Louis that is, building an org. When we talk about man against woman, man, Black women have accountability, Black men have accountability, but the welfare office has accountability too, right? So we can deal with our accountability and we've been at odds with each other. But when we're going to talk about and look at the systematic nature of the welfare system and how they strategically plotted and planned to remove the Black man out the house, right? But when are we going to talk about Black women being comfortable on that system? When are we going to talk about Black men taking on a white man's mindset and treating us like the white man treat his white woman? Right? I just read something the other day, a sister shared, and she said the thing was, what was the first, how old were you when a man first started an older man started hitting on you? You should have seen the numbers. People 6, 9, 10. But but what culture is that coming from, right? Where is that ingrainedness coming from? That didn't start with us. There's nowhere in the history books to show that it started with us. And so like we want to throw out what the Europeans say, the baby with the bathwater. We just don't throw everything out in history. We just gonna say, oh, we don't need, we gotta figure out how we got to this point. Because believe me, it's playing, we can play checkers, we can keep playing checkers while they playing chess and keep losing, or we can come together, collectively think and move forward and find a way to move forward and be in unity and accord, or we can stay divided. Because our division it's benefiting, man, it's benefiting somebody else.
And then
Right.
I was gonna, I mean, to hear what you're just saying though, I think that's where I'm trying to get at is that when I'm talking about the us against us, we have to collectively, it's not gonna just take one person. And if we all got different agendas and all different type of mindsets and all different things to try to get to where we all want to end up, we're not going to get there. And that's kind of what's going on right now. We all have all these different agendas and all these different things that's keeping us apart. And we can't agree on one thing that's going to help us get to our goal as Black people. And so that's why I'm saying we have to come collectively. And what did that start with? Supporting each other and being compassionate to each other. Like that's where it's going to start. And knowing where we come from and what we've dealt with, that's where the compassion is going to come in. Once you know, like, okay, we had a rough time. Let me sit back, take out my emotions, have a conversation with you. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what you're trying to do. What can we do collectively and move this needle forward? Instead of fighting and bickering about little stuff that's gonna keep us separated, and then we're not gonna just move. That's what I'm trying to get with us against us. Is like highlighting that we have to come together somehow in some sense and be on one agenda and one accord and move forward. Anybody else want to follow up on that, or y'all want to move on to something else? Because in my mind, I want to talk about, I do still want to keep on the subject of the divisions because I think they are important. And especially like I don't like this term, but Black on Black crime. I think it's propaganda. I think that's another thing that, they like to highlight to keep us, again, thinking that, fearful from each other and that we're out here just, yeah. So how do y'all feel about the term Black on Black crime, and how do we address those things and move forward? Nobody. Don't shut down on me, y'all. I knew this was going to be a tough subject.
Black on Black crime, right? Crime happens. We know this, right? It would be magnificent if it didn't happen so much in our community, right?
Right.
Back to Justin, what is trauma? There's so much trauma happening. And I think that people who work with children understand the amount of trauma children have been through, right? And what they've seen at young ages. And so like, the whole Black on Black crime, we heard the conversations is, oh, you statistically, you do crimes around each other, right? Or, it's a lot of crime in Black neighborhoods. Yeah, I mean, it is. And most of the crimes involve lack of communication and a high emotionalism. A lot of these crimes. Now, what I always tell people, have you watched Forensic? Because if you watch those are some of the most, those type of shows, when you watch those, my mom watched those shows. So when you watch those shows and you think about the mindset that you have to be in to plot and premeditated murder and for months and sit and wait, most of these crimes that's happening is conflict crimes in our community. Crimes that a lot of times that young people, when they don't have a developed sense of communication and how to deal with communication, you know what I'm saying? As adults, a lot of times that's what happened with us is we don't know how to communicate with each other. And so like, that lack of communication and that frustration turns into, it simmers and it turns into anger. And so it's no different than the youth. How to problem solve with someone you don't agree with. And then from there, pushing, it goes into what I say left field and it turns into a crime that's violent.
Anger and explosive.
As opposed to the other.
Yeah. Are you sorry, Tasha, I don't want
no, absolutely.
But what you said really resonated with me in just identifying what the source of what's happening. Whether it's people, it's a conflict. So we have a lack of communication, miscommunication. We know trauma is real. And we dealing with a whole lot of it on a whole lot of different areas and levels. We looking at, again, the fabric of our communities and how they are designed. And they are designed for us to fail. right? So when you look at like really like just zooming in on the source cause and the issue, when we're talking about crime, it's deep. It goes deep. And something that I find very worrying and troublesome, aside from, you know, a lot of the things that we are seeing, is just this narrative that's being portrayed in the media. You know, unfortunately, you know, you turn on the news and that's all that's reported. That's literally all that's reported. And so if I'm a person that isn't in that community, that isn't connected or what have you, to really understanding what's going on and what the pulse is, I'm just gonna think, dang, these Black people, they just out here just killing each other, you know, and nothing else is happening. Nothing else is going on. No explanation, no reason, no context provided. And so there is that narrative created. Is it an issue? It is an issue, but I think that there are just so many different root causes as to why we are seeing that. And we overall, we just have to really do better to really address those root causes when we're talking about crime.
Let me ask y'all something. Have any of y'all participating in Black on Black crime? Yes, no?
What I'm trying to get the mute off. You said, has any of us participated in Black on Black crime?
Right, violence. What was the question, Savannah? You said violence. What was Black on Black
We were
crime?
just talking on Black crime,
Black on Black crime.
period, basically.
So I want to make a point. I know particularly my points be a little bit controversial, but the point I'm trying to make is if you never really dealt with Black on Black crime and you've never been involved in Black on Black crime, it's kind of a little bit hard to try to, you know, explain it. Like I've been involved in Black on Black crime. I've been to prison for 10 years. So right, I was actually a person who did a violent crime to someone. You know what I mean? And the answer that I can give to Black on Black crime, just like any other crime, white on white crime, white on Black crime, any type of crime against anybody, is basically misplaced anger. It's simply misplaced anger that has no outlet. And then the first person that you can address that anger with, you're going to. So it's misplaced anger.
And we agree. Yes, we definitely agree with you on that. You got anything to say, Mr. Justin, before we move on? I know you done kick back and chill back. But if not, I will move on. I will be moving on to I think for this one, poor against rich. And why do you think it's hard for our people to support each other? How do we change the narrative? Thinking in terms of not just business, but personal also though. Like, how do we change that? Like, for instance, like I was talking earlier about holding Black people businesses to an impossible level. Like we got to be the best customer service giving people ever for us to support each other. The lack of trust amongst each other. And like, just, you know, again, the stereotypes of the crabs. And I'm not saying this is everybody. I'm just saying these are the things that are, again, I feel like it's propaganda and we are putting out there, or not we, but systems are putting out there. And I think if we don't address them and we don't talk about them in a different light of solving it, then people just keep going on to their daily days and like, oh, well, it's nothing wrong. This is normal. So that's kind of where I'm getting at with the questions and, you know, talking about this subject. But go ahead. Anybody want to?
I'll jump in first.
Savannah,
you know, me and you talk a lot. When we talk about certain issues, it kind of get kind of personal real quick. So I think what we need to do as people, if we talk about Black people specifically, we need to start taking our personal experiences out of every situation. Every situation that does not garner our personal experience for that situation. You know what I mean? If we're trying to deal with a problem collectively, our personal experiences is going to kind of get in the way with that. Because everybody got a personal experience of that particular issue. And it happened to you personally, and it happened to you specifically because of your journey in life. It didn't happen to you as a collective experience about that same issue. It happened to you directly based on your experiences, based on your personal development and your growth in your life. So what I'm trying to say is collective issues should be solved or dealt with collectively, and we need to take our personal experiences out of those.
I got a question.
Mhm.
You just used your personal issue of being locked up to basically qualify and disqualify us in dealing with black on black crime.
No, I did not. No, I did not. I asked you a question to begin that when I started talking. I said, have you ever dealt with black on black crime? Right?
And I'm not gonna answer that. I wasn't gonna answer that regardless. Uh you know, I'm just trying to understand, because if we talk about, if we say that we can't deal with personal experiences, right? Or I can't, or we don't bring up other people's personal experience, then by what merit are we dealing with a situation?
You asking me this personal question?
That's not a personal question. I'm saying if we don't deal with people's personal experience to look at things, then by what merit are we dealing with a situation?
Once again, are you asking me that question?
Yes.
Why? I'm like, I cannot answer that question for you. If we're talking about a collective issue is what I was speaking of. I'm not talking about personal issues. I'm saying a collective issue that we're dealing with as a collective people. We need to take our personal experiences out of it, because personally, you dealt with that issue, dealing with your life and how you viewed that issue based on your growth, your development. So you're not going to be able to solve my collective issue with your personal experience, if that makes sense.
So again, I'm asking the question, if we're dealing with a collective issue and we're not looking at people's personal experiences within a collective issue, then what's the merit that we base the solution on?
We base it on societal change. We base it on things that's progressive. We base the issue of the collective issue on progressiveness. What's good for progressive for the whole, not for anybody in person.
But isn't that based off of the individual? Like individuals, we come together as a collective, right?
I know, but if we talking about black people, that's different. But we're talking about an issue that's dealing with racial colors, different racial colors, then their personal experience is going to be different than our personal experience.
I'm sorry, I got lost, but I thought, okay. So I'm sorry.
You lost word because you're trying to get to understand me, and this is tough. This subject is not about understanding me.
No, it's not even personally about you. We're just having, and that's what I mean, it's just a conversation flow. And so what I'm trying to get, which I think what Tasha is asking is, if you're saying no personal experience, we're talking about Black people. That's the only subject we're on, Black people.
We're talking about a collective issue about Black people, though.
Right. And so when you have a collective issue, and you're right, not everybody has the same issue, but you come from your own experiences when you come collectively, though, is what I think that's what she's trying to, that's what I'm getting. Like, you come collectively as one, but I'm coming with my own experiences.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is, and there's no answer to what you were trying to say, is all I'm saying is collectively, your personal issue, and you solve it, may not have solved that collective issue for me, just because it solved it for you personally as a woman. Let's deal with it like that. A collective issue that's dealing with Black people, just because you may have solved it as a woman, they don't solve it as a man for me, right?
Yeah, clearly that's why individual men experiences coming together needs to be heard, because there's a gender thing there. So there's some things in life that I will experience that you will never experience.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Right. But when we're talking about the Black on Black crime, we're talking about Black people in general. That's one thing that we have as an experience, is being Black people coming to collectively together to talk about this one thing, which is Black crime that we're Black and we're experiencing.
I know, but what I'm trying to tell you is 17 prisons, male prisons in Missouri, only 2 female prisons. So what are we saying here? That Black men have more experience with Black on Black crime than women? What are we saying?
I don't think we're saying none of that, but
so my point is, you talking about Black on Black crime is mostly done by men. If you let the world say it.
Right. The world says that propaganda, but go ahead.
Right. So if we're dealing with black on black crime, then we only can deal with it based on pretty much a male perspective. Since males are how many? It's only 2 female
High
prisoners.
key,
Like,
what is
we
the
on the-
solution? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, like, we don't deal with it on the victims standpoint. We don't deal with it on the families who lose. We
And
don't
the
deal with none of
and
those.
its impacts.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But those are all personal experiences when you're talking about black on black crime. Those are personal experiences. If you're a victim of black on black crime, you're going to be different.
You don't.
All I'm saying is to collectively solve a black on black issue, you cannot take your personal experiences into it. Is all I'm saying. We need to deal with a black on black crime without personal experiences trying to solve that black on black crime, which I don't know how to do that. So I'm not saying I have the answers to that. I'm just saying.
Okay. Anybody want to follow up or
No, man. No.
no?
Where is Justin? I want to hear from Justin. I want to hear from Justin.
I knew this was gonna be a tough subject, so I appreciate y'all. I knew it was definitely.
Hey, I'm selling.
Where you at, man?
Okay.
I'm floating. I
Justin.
mean, I got a bunch of men in my family that's been to jail. I got one that just got out from doing 8 years. One that on papers and all
What
around.
does that have to do with anything? My jail experience, it's not what I'm trying to bring into this situation. It don't have anything to do with it.
I mean,
It goes into crime.
right.
They did crime. They committed crimes. So from a black man's experience in black on black crime, from a black, because I'm not a black man, crime that they committed, I wasn't there with them, or things that they did, I wasn't there with them. I was only there to support them through the process. Hey, what's up? Why you go that route? You got us over here. I can only go from what their experience and how we deal with it. How do we keep your son from going down this same path? I can only go from what they tell me from a black man's perspective. My mother been to jail too, though. And it's women that's going to jail. Studies was coming out that black women are the fastest being incarcerated now, you know? So like, you know, I mean, black women commit crime too, and are victims of crime as well. I think that from the standpoint of looking at crime, we don't just look at it from the fact that black on black crime, but how does it affect community? How does it affect family? When it's a violent crime and a life is lost, what's the effect on not just like me, but what's the effect on their family, the victim's family, and everybody that they life touched? What's the effect that happens with the overall community when we talk about black on black crime? I don't think that because a person, you know, been to jail, I mean, it is, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I ain't got no doctorate, or no thing in criminology, and all of that fancy stuff. My only thing is I got a degree in black people. I love us. And I want to see us better. And I want to see us thriving. Because my son has to have a future in this world.
I mean,
I'm just saying our approach is off. Our approach is off. That's the problem. Our approach, how we approaching these.
you muted. So you said the approach is off. So
how we approaching the problems. We're approaching the problems wrong. We're viewing it personally. We're viewing our problems personally. We need to be dealing with them collectively. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
okay. So
I mean,
let's
make all men and boys join the FOI. That's the most collective thing I can think of collectively. That's a whole collective right there.
Do you agree with that, Shavannah? Do you just agree with that, Shavannah? Make all our boys join the FOI?
I'm just saying that's a collective.
I'm just asking a question at this point because everybody's not going to agree with you, right, Tasha?
True. Absolutely.
And I think that's what that's what we're all saying. We all definitely we're coming from definitely different aspects, and we're coming from different views, and everybody is not going to experience the same things, because we do have things that divide us differently. Meaning like you being a man, me being a woman, me being in the county, and dang, look, Kelly being from the city. So we definitely do have differences, but I think also, again, it's some things that we can't come to together, even though of our differences, and agree on to move forward. And if one of those things is just respecting each other, if we can say, hey, as a Black person, I respect you, let's move forward with that. That's a collective. Let's come to the collective together and say, this is what I think. Come to collective together and say, I respect you as a Black person, and move forward. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can, from my person, I don't think I can go into anything without experience. I can come in, if I didn't experience it, I can come in with empathy. I can try to understand, but I do my stuff, like what I'm doing right now is from experiences. And it comes from experiences that I've had, and experiences I don't want to see my people keep having, or my children to experience. So that's how I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can we move together collectively? But that's my take on it. And if we ain't got nothing else, I mean, we could dive into the next one, but it's all. I guess let's get into the stuff.
Justin, we're not gonna hear from you. Don't
I
look.
know Justin done disappeared. He like, I'm done. Justin just like, left.
That always happens. Usually what happens when I'm involved in conversation, the males always get quiet when I'm in a conversation, because they usually don't want to support what I'm saying, but then they also don't want to seem combative to the women. So that happens a lot when I'm in conversation. It does. So Justin, where are you at, my man?
I'm sitting right here.
There we go.
I ain't being combative. I respect what everybody got to say in this dialogue for it to be there. So I don't mind being combative.
No. I didn't say being combative. I said you're not trying to be combative with the women, and you're not trying to be supportive of what I'm saying. Is what I get my point if I was making with you, brother. Because I want to hear from you. I want to hear how you feel on these subjects.
And we need to get our life together. Point blank.
Point blank period.
Point blank period.
Point blank period.
If we look at the fact of hating, everybody be hating. You mad because whoever got what you got, what are you willing to do to achieve whatever it is they got versus hating on them? Or how can we even take another approach? Say, how can I help be a part of that? That's my whole thing. Like, we can sit here and point, call the bougie and broke and the ratchet and the wild and whoever else doing what, but it take all us to make the world go around. So how do we do that collectively, or whatever language you want to talk about, and make it to where we ain't got to talk about these conversations, so the next generation can be like, yeah, some people started doing X, Y, Z, and now versus if we got 20,000 Black folks here, now we 5,000 signed up, was a part of what we got going on, and now I can't get my mind right, y'all. I'm sorry.
No, you good. You good. Anybody? I mean, I definitely I agree. Having these conversations now so that we won't keep continuing having, and we won't be experiencing the same things 10, 20 years down the line. Setting a tone so that we can move forward. Figuring out, right, coming into our rooms and areas together and finding out what is the solutions, because we don't have all of the solutions. I think that's one of our things right now. We don't have all of the solutions, but coming in together and the solutions that we do have, let's utilize them. So that's my take on it, but this y'all show.
Hey, Miss Savannah, I got a question for you. You said maybe we don't have the solutions here, but we sure got the solutions when white folks come and ask us what's the Black opinion and come do this for us. So all them great innovative ideas that we, get gangster grilled for and don't get nothing but a little job somewhere, or continue to keep your job, like what does it look like for us to create them kind of options and solutions? Because we sure give it to them.
Mm. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, y'all. Anybody else want to follow up?
Text me that. Damn.
You and mute. But anybody else want to follow up, or we gonna keep
On a Zoom meeting. Is that
talking
was
about this? Maybe we need to shift to solutions. Do we have any solutions? Do y'all feel like there's some solutions out here to moving us forward at all?
I mean, I think every problem is looked at differently with the solution. I think that, one of the solutions is what we talking about. How do we stop it being us against us? What Justin just said. We come together instead of giving our ideas to someone else, our work effort to someone else. How do we build in community? How do we build up community? How do we come to these tables and fight hard for each other and not come to the table to sell each other out? I mean, that's the basic. When you come with that type of standing, that's the basis of like how we start building up. Because right now we so far away from the respect of each other and community as a whole that we come any kind of way to the table. And that's why we're able to see, what Justin said. We got the answer when white folks ask us. But we don't have the answer when we, when we need it the most, which is in our community.
Let me chime in. Let me chime. I'll say the hard facts.
You have the question?
No, I don't have a question.
Did you hear the question?
Was you asking me a question? I'm sorry.
No, she asked the question that I was responding to.
Okay.
Yeah, I was asking what are the solutions to help us move forward.
Okay. What I think my solution is what I've been doing since I came home from prison. Not that that's important, but I started a nonprofit organization to help children whose parents are in prison, right? So my point is, we already got what we need to do to solve the problem. What we need to do is stop being procrastinating, stop being lazy, stop making excuses. That's what we need to do. Each and every one of us need to hold ourselves accountable and do what we see and know needs to be done. My thing is this: I started my organization back in 2008. Instead of people coming and help other organizations grow, they want to go start their own organization. They want to recreate the wheel. That's what they're doing. So it's the Willie Lynch letter all over again, divine and common, right? Instead of us coming together and working on an organization that's already started and helping those build, we go start our own. And now we got 30,000 organizations and we can't get the resources we need to solve the community problems because everybody wants to do the same thing. You know what I mean? We don't need 6 wheels on one car. A car only needs 4 wheels. So why do we need 2 extra wheels being made? You follow what I'm saying? I'm just trying to give you an example of us coming together and not as soon as we get an idea that someone's doing and we can do it better, we're going to go start the same thing they started. Those are the problems that I see. And the solution is very, very simple. Help somebody else who's doing something that you want to do, not go start something else and make it that more difficult for both of us.
I agree. I definitely think we need to collaborate more. Shout out to Kelly. Go ahead.
To add to that,
you know how I feel about that one, boy.
To add to that, I think like it ain't rocket science. It starts with communication and just being able to talk with each other. Again, like we all come from different spaces. We all have different lived experiences and life experiences. We're going to have our different perspectives and our different viewpoints. But at the end of the day, I would like to think we all have the same thing in common. We want to see us win. People are going to have different ideas of what that looks like, maybe for them. But I think if we just start off by just like just being in community with one another, having these conversations, seeing what's going on in the community, what are resources and different organizations that are currently in place, that maybe we can uplift them and support them. If okay, cool, you got this going on, bruh, fine. How can I support? But I think we don't communicate with one another. So we don't know about, I mean, I'm just speaking from me personally. There are a lot of awesome things going on. North side, west side, city, county. You have a lot of grassroots people on the ground doing the real work, not these big box, community-based orgs that ain't really doing the work. But you do have folks that are on the ground out here in the community really trying to make a change, but we just don't know about it. There are things I don't know about, but if maybe we could come up with a way where we can connect with one another and just to say and share, hey, yo, this is what I have going on. This is how I'm trying to improve and empower the youth or empower families in my community, in my neighborhood, blase, blase. And then we can start from there. I think there's just a lack of communication like that. I think that's what it boils down to. You are going to have some people on some other stuff. Not everybody gonna won't be, what I'm saying? Part of, the solution, so to speak. You're gonna have folks want to do their own thing. And that's how it is. Everything isn't for everyone. But I think if we start with just talking to each other, communicating with people, being respectful, but just having that dialogue, I think that's where it starts. So we understand what's already going on. And then also leveraging resources other people may have, supports that they have, strengths that they have, identifying additional assets, because we are beautiful people. We have resources. We gonna make it work because that's who we are as a people, right? So how can we leverage those assets that we already have in our communities to make things shake and make things change for the better? I just think it starts with just us communicating with one another. So that's it.
Hey, Kelly, you don't want to hear no more? Girl, them folks over there, they look good, but they ain't doing nothing. Just some regular old black folk stuff. We gonna, girl, let's go up here to the Chinese spot and get us some duck and noodles. We ain't got time to be worried about these colored folks over here doing. Like, that's one of the biggest things that we hear. I know myself, I've probably been guilty of doing some of them things. I don't know about to that extent on those specific things, but like, how do we get away from, I think the word is perpetuating what we're trying to get away from. We can call it niggerdom or, whatever you want to call it. How do we get away from that? And also, how do we help those uneducated minds that Mr. Haki was talking about earlier? Because I know everybody can't get on the boat, but how can you put up a sign that say the boat is coming? In case you do want to change your mind, you'll know that the boat is coming to possibly not necessarily save you, but to help you understand some things that can help your life situation change and help create a better quality of life for you and yours and those around you.
Man, I love black people. I'm gonna say this first and foremost, but I just think we too compassionate. I think we too compassionate and we can't see what's right in front of our eyes. Everybody ain't going. Everybody don't want to go. Some people are infectors. Some people are trying to destroy what you're building. And we need to recognize that. Just because they got a black face on them does not mean they're for black people. So simple as put, we're too compassionate, we're too forgiving. We want to accept everybody. I don't.
I'll chime in. Yeah, I agree that we are too compassionate, but I would say that we too compassionate with everybody but ourselves.
True.
And that's why we're talking about us against us, because we show compassion to everybody. Oh man, no, we can't. Let's turn the other cheek. We ready to cause war with each other, and we don't show enough compassion with each other. I'll say this though about absolutely. I detest the stealing of ideas, of something that you put your heart, soul, sweat, and blood in, and someone sees you working from the ground up and takes that to go over here to explore. I detest it. And I'm calling, and me in St. Louis, I'm calling out every chance I get. But in St. Louis, we have to understand that there's more than St. Louis. Kelly know, like I know, they have you thinking that the only funding here is in St. Louis. Go outside. Just to know in 2018, when I was talking about food justice, when nobody talking about food justice. Now everybody talking about it. I didn't get mad when I didn't get the support. I still supported others. And then I went and found my support. White people gonna support regardless, especially in this climate. They gonna support. But when I wanted us to support us, right? I know the mind state of St. Louis, born and raised here. And I knew that we needed to shift the culture for how we show up for each other. So for me, ensuring that, and my duty as a part of the collective, I got out of St. Louis and I went and found my support from Black people that look like me, right? To bring that reality back to St. Louis. But I also showed up how I wanted people to show up for me. So uncompromisingly for us, showing up for Black growers in this region, uncompromisingly. Me and Justin's been in rooms and we'll be the only two calling it out. You know, and being transparent about it. And so like the whole thing of like, yeah, we can have 1 million nonprofits in our community. There's still money out there. It's still money out there for you to do yours and thrive and work in it. And so like, but there's also nonprofits here that are not doing anything. They get the money and they're not doing what they're saying. And they're not, but as like when you think back of a nonprofit that ain't doing nothing, right? Versus, and then what a community at, right? And you talk about this, the collective now has to come and say, they not doing what they saying they do, but Haki, you've been doing it and you've been down with the community. And as a collective, we stand behind you and we support you. I mean, that's simple. And telling funders, no, that's not for us. He for us, he for the community. So like, that's just a twofold thing. Like over there, everybody, man, it's so many nonprofits. People set up nonprofits just to clean money, just to get that tax credit. So it's gonna always be nonprofit status because that's the thing that they tell you to do. But I had to learn in this that like everybody ain't for you, like you said, but that don't mean that just all we give up. I mean, like when I tell you like Kelly, the best partner that I'd never worked with, like real talk, listen, man, we got some healing to do. All I'm saying is that we compassionate, and the reason why I'm saying this is definitely on personal experience, because I just went through this about, especially around my work and it being stolen, and where everybody, didn't even start the conversation, but I inserted myself in it because it was my work that was being stolen. But you know, so like how we got to show up better. That like there was no compassion from some of us for me. And we didn't even know the situation. And this is a non-Black person. We didn't know the situation. There was no compassion. When I was telling people it was happening and people that look like me, oh man, you tripping it. No, I'm not tripping. This is what it is. So like, I've always seen us show compassion, like you saying, but I've always seen it go to other people. I haven't seen that same strength and energy of compassion go amongst our own community.
Yeah. And I think that just goes back to, like when we talk about situations that, you know, for instance, these beauty supplies and how people the liquor stores that's in our neighborhoods, how we keep continuously going to those and fund those places and they treat us bad, but we still keep going. Like it's like we turn the other cheek. But when we get into a Black businesses and they do one small thing, I'm done with them. So I definitely think it is definitely some addressing to do amongst us. And we do turn the cheek for everybody else. We do. But I do think we also do need to support each other. And it starts with the collaborating, the communication, and then how else are you going to know if someone is what you're trying to do or what you're trying to be? Without communication. You could be over there doing that, and I don't even know that you're doing it because we're not communicating. So I don't know what you got going on over there. And I'm just over here trying to do what I think is best for me and my people. But if we come together, have a conversation, and you be like, "Are you doing that too? Oh, I'm trying to do something like that too." So how can I support you? How can we work together collectively? But if you all in your own world and you just like, I ain't dealing with nobody, this is what I'm just do. How do people know? And like you said, bringing awareness. How do we know about these organizations if no one's bringing awareness to them? Hence, that's why I started the platform, to get people to be aware of, giving people the resources so people can utilize them, so people can know that they're there. And then that's when we hold ourselves accountable, support each other, and then we utilize them.
I think what we need to do is also, I think in order for us to move together as Black people, that's them thin lines as well. Like I said, we don't know just because you got a Black face if you're ready for the movement. But I think we need to have a targeted enemy. If us five on this call right now, who is our enemy? You know what I'm saying? Personally, we just need to target an enemy. Who is your enemy? Do we even know who our enemy is collectively? How about personally? Do we know who our enemy is personally? We don't know who our enemy is, so of course we can't fight together. How can we fight together? We don't know who we're fighting against. So who are y'all enemies? Or who is the common enemy? Who is the common enemy against Black people? Do we know that?
First and foremost, it's those that look like us, that's closest to us, doing all the dirty work.
Lines are blurred. Lines are very blurred who our enemies is.
My bad. I learned something so wise because that method, because for so long we've been fighting against, but in recent times, in trying to shift the culture, I learned about what we fighting for. Like, what are we fighting for, and what's the steps to take in fighting for that? And so like actual training, like what we fighting for, right? So like North City, we know we've been fighting to stay in place for so long, and against the city and against white people in St. Louis, that they use race to now control us here. When now it's so much, it goes past that white and Black, because it's people that look, like you said, look like us, that's doing us the most damage. Right. And so like now the shift in us, like we know the system systematically, all of that, but like past that, what are we fighting for? What are we fighting for? What do we want our future to be? And what are we fighting for individually?
I just think we still need to target an enemy before we figure out what we're fighting for. I think we need to target an enemy. We need to all know who we're fighting against. You know, let me.
But I just addressed that though, because like we've in St. Louis in particular, we've been fighting against white folks for so long.
It ain't white folks. It's not white folks. We don't have a common enemy.
I didn't say what I said. What I said was we've been fighting. That's the narrative, black against white in St. Louis for so long. But now the people that we see doing us the most harm look like us. So
because we have not targeted the enemy. The enemy is not colorblind. It's not colorblind. That's why we can't figure out who it is or what it is. Because it's not colorblind. It don't have a color limitation.
Greed is colorblind.
You say what?
I said greed is colorblind.
But poverty isn't. Poverty isn't. Poverty isn't colorblind. It's here in this country, in this city, it's real intentional who's poverty stricken and who continues to go down the path of generational trauma and generational poverty. It's us. And we say it's white people, we say it's us. But when it all come down, how do we, being us, get out of this? Because looking at what I see, one of the many problems is we going on our 4th or 5th generation. They're selling drugs, not being entrepreneurs wholly or scientists or whatever their aspirational goals are. The majority of the young people that's coming up now like to trap or do something promiscuous with their body and some other things. Not to say we all might not have done those things, but we got to change this. The ratchet and the wild cannot become the majority. When will the majority of people be like, I don't want to be cool, I don't want to be hip, I want to help be a part of the change that we all want to see. So for us to create solutions and get people to come behind us and do it, they're gonna have to do something inside themselves that's different than what we have historically known to do. Our nonprofits, our leadership, they doing the same stuff from the 60s. If you look at it, all they do is put new names to it. They don't want to be accountable. They don't want to share no data. Tasha talked about the nonprofit complex. St. Louis is like one of the top 5 places where nonprofits even or run everything. And if you took away the nonprofits here in St. Louis, there'd be a lot of Black and white people unemployed. That's how many we got here. We don't have that many Fortune 500 companies in St. Louis anymore. So who has to fill that role? Cute and cuddly work. But right now, if we're gonna do cute and cuddly work, we need to add some type of radical actions with those. I don't mean radical in violence. I mean radical in actions that we're gonna do something that's not a part of what everybody else want to do or is doing. And my question is, what does that look like and what does that change take? Because Ms. Phoenix just said you had to go outside of the chitlin bucket to get some money. You know, St. Louis ain't the only people got winning lottery tickets. So who and where? Matter of fact, I got a better question, Ms. Phoenix. Can you tell us, is there like a database or somewhere that you can put it on a platform, social media platforms where you can find Black people or other white people that support people of color or Black folks, organizations, nonprofit or for profit that's willing to help and support them?
So the database that they got, of course, the nonprofit database it costs. I don't have a personal database myself. It's just people I build relationships with. And they majority of them are Black people that I built relationships with. One of the people, my best friend father, and the work that he doing, they older, they successful, they got, you know, and they investing in stuff. And so like, I mean, that's just a relationship I built. I tell people, I can't tell people enough, building genuine relationship is how you gonna be, that's where you gonna get your investment, you know. And so that's where, like, I literally traveled to California and I literally traveled to New York. And it was based on relationship building to bring back her support, to bring back her. Because I believed in this, in food justice so much. And I believed in Black growers in this region so much. And so in that, I was willing to travel. I was willing to step out of my comfortability, ask for help. I was willing to build relationships. And, you know, we seeing it. Kelly, no, we seeing it. We seeing the help, we seeing the support. A lot of the stuff that nonprofits have harder on in the beginning, it's been a blessing because of relationship building with both of us. We ain't had to worry about a lot of that stuff.
And it's like you said, it comes for building relationships, authentic relationships and genuine relationships. And then I'm sure in those relationships, you guys have respect for one another. So that goes a long way, you know. And then, you know, if you respect somebody and you like you said too, you said this back then, you show up for them as you would want them to show up for you. So I definitely understand that and I get that. And I think that's where, I mean, that's one of the solutions too, not only just demanding something from someone else, but showing up for people too in a genuine way is going to build a relationship. And that's going to make them feel like, oh, you got me, I can support you. It's going to help the process and the relationship flourish. Man.
Can I add something to that, Justin? Justin,
I'm listening to you. Go ahead.
we know our spending. We spend money in the trillions in our community. It goes, dollar circulates. One of the things that I keep telling Kelly is like, we can't be dependent on funders. We have to find a way to utilize what the, not just resources, financial resource, but time as well of people around us that's in the community as well. Because like in the long run, people would change that. Oh, I'm done funding this. But that don't mean the problem over because you done funding it. I still need money to continue this. And so like where are people at in this? So I can only go off of me. My method, right, is that like I show up for growers and get them at a point where business wise, they're able to make money, right? And they're able to sustain themselves. And then we got a membership. And so they seen their work and now we got a membership, and asking them for something now is not a problem as it would have been before if I didn't come with nothing. That's just the base, like that's just basic. I used to tell MC all the time, man, y'all got to do better at building relationships. And it can't be always a financial, what I'm getting from you and what you're getting from me. But pick up the phone. We went through COVID, hit everybody hard. Are you okay? Or you good? People losing. And so like that just solidifies that bond and that relationship when people know that you're not just invested in them just for money.
Something I kind of wanted to uplift, you know, in thinking about solutions, right? And like, how can we do things differently? I think, and I understand, like, we all have our own stuff we dealing with, our own day to day, you know, to maintain. But I think living in St. Louis, sometimes you are a bit programmed to really operate within these constraints, right? Like, we always constantly fighting. We're constantly fighting. And I think in order for us to change things, we need to go beyond that, and we need to shift that to visioning what it is that we want to see. And Tasha mentioned this, what are we, instead of who we fight and what are we fighting for? So really thinking and imagining, right? Radical imagination, some people call it, but like really visioning, like, what is it that we want to see? And maybe that can help to bridge some of these divisions. Again, like not everybody gonna be on the same page. You know, it is what it is. Like I said, everything is not for everyone. All skin folk ain't kin folk. We already know that's the truth. But I think if we really start reimagining what we want these systems to look like, and then moving forward with redesigning these jacked up systems, you know, the status quo is the status quo. It ain't working. Well, it's working for some people. You know, it ain't working for us. So I think we need to kind of expand our horizons. And again, we in St. Louis, I love St. Louis, it's my home, but St. Louis ain't the world. And there's so many other things that are happening around us. People are doing some great work in other cities throughout the country, and really tapping into seeing again what are other folks doing, and what is it that we want to see. We know what we don't want to see. Again, we can sit, you have conversations with folks all the time, you know, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, you know, a lot of things that we hate seeing. But what is it that you want to see? If you know, and that's something like, you know, I'm really trying to create a shift in my mind too. Living in this region is going beyond like, you know, all these reports that lay out all these inequities, all the things that we see when we're out and about in our communities, the differences and the discrepancies. But like, what do we want though? What is our vision? And how can we dream? How can we dream that and see that coming into into reality. Like I think, and again, I recognize that, you know, we trying to maintain, and I know that some, you know, folks have that you know, that mental, you know, bandwidth to deal with what's right in front of them. I recognize that. But we need to really start imagining what we want to see. And then just kind of figure out how to go from there instead of just focusing on uh things that we don't have, because we already know that. But how can we reimagine that and shift that to coming up with new solutions that actually really work for folks.
Right, right. Justin, you want to say something?
Yeah. Hey, Kelly, check this out. We do get chances to re-envision what we want our neighborhoods to look like. When nice charitable efforts come into our neighborhood and say, we want to help do some housing, we want to help build a business strip, or whatever some outside folks come in and say they want to see in our neighborhood. And when the planners or those that's doing the community engagement ask us, they tell people we want what they got in Clayton. They don't come with any pictures or something off their phone. So if we gonna ask for change, how can we go about educating people on what the change need to look like? Because you know, we can get the pictures out of grandma's chest and so we want to go back to this and them ugly dresses Mother used to wear on Easter, which I don't want to see come back. But you know, like when we was outside, you know, taking them pictures, you might have had at that time, you had people, your whole family lived in these big houses. You know, we can talk about that, but how was that even? How can we use that as a reference when we left it in the Ville? You know, and look at the Ville now. They said that our place was awesome. I've never seen it look awesome. I've seen death, dope, and decay there, like I see in my neighborhood and many other communities. But how do we change that? And we also need to hold the Black folks that come in our neighborhoods, working for these white folks, talking about they're gonna build these buildings and et cetera, et cetera. Either you do this or you and these people need to go, you know, but at the same time, it's so many different levels into all of this, especially in like community engagement, community development, economic development. There's so many layers, and people have been burnt, whether it's regular leadership, church leadership, elected officials. Like people are burnt out, tired of being lied to, you know. And we also want folks to, you know, turn the other cheek, like the good book say. But I'm not finna turn the other cheek, and you've been lying to me. Like I'm 41 years old. These folks been lying to me my whole life. Talking about this gonna happen, that's gonna happen. No, I come in small increments. A nice middle class or upper middle class neighborhood has now become a place of under-resourced and et cetera, et cetera. And we can blame the white folks, but who been here? We've been here since, some of us been here since the 50s. So where does that go to?
Accountability.
What you say?
The accountability.
Where does accountability go to? Because you know, they always want to say renters ain't got no voice, but it's the renters and everybody else there who ain't got no money that's helping y'all fill out this paperwork to say your neighborhood is in such despair and all the other nice language.
All of that,
right? But who's there? The bougie and the broke is there. And they telling the region, oh, we're the leadership. You know, here lately, folks want to talk about tenant rights and tenants this and tenants that. But where are those spaces in our communities? You know?
Yes.
We don't have those, because I'm saying without my opinion or in my voice, like Mother cut me a check for me to get this place shut up. All right, I'll be quiet.
Don't be quiet.
No, because I want to know, Justin, like how can we create that space?
We gotta rebuild it. And that's one of the key things that racial equity talks about when you apply a community at center lens. It allows you to not only just talk to people, but it teaches you, or it talks about pulling out people's strength and let community be the lead. Okay. And community can't lead if you don't educate them. And that's one of the things that when you put a racial equity lens on community engagement is that you have to educate and elevate these people, you know, and help them. Think about when you're in class and you trying to do a test, or before you get to the questions at the end of the chapter, you know, they show you examples of what you can have or what you can get, but we don't do that here. We show them the plan that the white folks already put together and they say, and all they got to do is go tweak it. Say, oh, they don't want this to look like that. They don't want that. And when it's all said and done, we forget all about this plan, like the trolley plan in my neighborhood. Folks hate the trolley plan, but the trolley plan created, I don't know, about $10 million worth of new housing over here, and not including what it put on Delmar student housing and some more other businesses that it came. And it's more to come, y'all.
Yep.
And it's more to come. And we ain't doing nothing because we want to do the same rules of engagement that have put us in a bad situation and for to displace us. So I'm shut up. Y'all go ahead.
I'm gonna jump in right now because I actually got to get ready to go. But I want to talk about the issue that's always been an issue. It hasn't changed and it's not going to change. The issue we're dealing with is the destruction and the annihilation and gentrification or genocide of our Black boys. That's what their goal is, and that's what their intent is to destroy our Black boys. So with me thinking that, I don't know what you guys think the real issue is that we're facing here. But with me believing that that is the issue, then my solution is going to have to be centered around that. My enemy is going to be targeted because of who are targeting those Black boys. So that's where my mentality is going and where it's coming from, and the things that I say and things that I do. I believe the target is our Black boys. I believe that has never changed. It's not going to change. And the enemy is not necessarily a face. It's actually media. It's media. It's the promotion and the perpetuation of ideas and concepts that has been put in place many moons ago. So that's what our enemy is media pushing those same agendas. That's where our enemy is. So the solutions are very, very simple. Since the problem to me is the same, they're attacking our Black boys, then we need to cover our Black boys. We need to protect our Black boys. We need to focus intensely on the Black boys. I know they don't sound good to girls and women because the women empowerment movement is so big now. And I think that's another distraction that they're trying to get away from the fact that they're trying to kill our Black boys. So all I'm trying to say is, don't get emotional about what I'm saying is we need to protect our Black boys, period, Dr. N.
Hey,
I'm not marginalizing women and girls. I'm just saying they're attacking our Black boys.
Hey, Hakeem, you know something? I don't know if y'all ever paid this some attention. From the time a little Black boy is born to about 12 years old, white folks will have him in a picture next to him, patting him on his head, swinging him in the air like on a Double Mint commercial. Soon as he get about 12, 13 years old, he found out that my mama's suffering and I got to make some shake. He's a threat. He's a problem. And one of my things is, how do we change that without taking the male masculinity and aggression that they are naturally born with? Because they do us dirty when they can't use us no more.
The solution is, brothers, the solution is very simple, Justin. I said it before, not all gonna agree, but it's censorship. It's censorship. Boys, little Black boys and even Black girls should not be exposed to movies and videos and songs depicting violence and death and murder. We should not be exposed to that at 7 years old, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. So by the time we 12 or 13, it's ingrained in our head that murder, violence, and death is acceptable in the United States of America or the world. So of course we're gonna get involved in that culture because that's what's been shown to us our whole life. See, I was privy to be a part of certain studies when I first came home from prison, based on me starting a nonprofit organization that helped children and parents in prison. So I was invited to a lot of different forums, invited in a lot of different rooms, and the same study was done and told over and over again. If you sit a child in front of a TV screen and show him images of negative images and destructive images, that child is going to grow up destructive and negative. But if you sit a child in front of an image that's you showing positive and loving and inclusive stuff, that child's going to grow up loving and inclusive. It's simple brainwashing, people. They are simply brainwashing us through their media access, and we're watching it and we're allowing it.
Hey, Kelly.
That's the issue.
Hey, Kelly, can you create a Black version of Little House on the Prairie?
Cannot.
They chose
I
those
cannot with you, Justin.
No, but you know what, too, though, in the sense, I definitely think propaganda does have a big play in the divide and all of the destruction with what we have right now, what we're dealing with in this time. I think my question is so where's, and I get where you're saying censorship, the ones that have not been exposed. So what do we do for the ones that have been?
We reprogram. Like you say, we as adults, we take that Willie Lynch letter and we break it down. And instead of teaching them and showing them the Willie Lynch letter, we deal with those issues of division. We know what Willie Lynch did. As adults, we know this, but we're not going to show this to the children, and we're not going to teach it to them. What we're going to do is we're going to combat those ideas and those principles. We're going to do it the opposite of what Willie Lynch did. We're going to bring people back together instead of dividing them. But all I'm saying is we need to censor what they're being shown at a very, very volatile stage in their development. We cannot allow these people to keep on perpetuating and exposing our children to homosexuality before they even in school. They're talking about putting homosexuality education in school now. Is that okay? Is that okay? That is not okay to put homosexuality education in schools where impressionable little minds are going to be exposed to that. That's not okay. So that's my solution. They're my answers. I'm doing the work. Check my background. Look into who I am and what I'm doing. And if you like what I'm doing, please get involved because I'm doing the work over here on the north side of St. Louis.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a 9-year-old boy. Without a doubt that there has been and always will be a war on Black boys. Right. So I knew that one of the first things that I committed to myself, no matter what, no matter my situation, was that I wouldn't send him to public school. And when I say public school, I mean including county schools, none of that. So we can talk about like putting more Black teachers in there. I worked as a substitute teacher. I seen how Black people show up and what they're pointing to the minds of our children. But for being accountable at home is one thing, but I also know that my son is going to interact with people who don't have the same mindset as me. And so like when we're interacting with you, what are we talking to them about? Where, or not everybody can afford homeschool or want to do homeschool. What happened to the after school programs that are targeted, intentional? And then also sometimes you're gonna have to do this work with no money. and that's the reality of it. You have to do this work with no money. As men, you're gonna have to do this work without trying to hit on the mama. Without for sexual gratification, you're gonna have to do it without the cameras and the glam. And things like that. When we dealing with with the war on the boys. But we do know that it is war on Black boys. But that does not mean that there's not a war on Black girls as well. I grew up seeing all these programs for Black boys and the rites of passage, why Black girls were able to slip through the cracks. What is the standard for Black women today? Sexual liberation, right? But for who though? Because the sexual liberation looked like what? For who? Who we sexually liberating for? We for ourselves, or is this for somebody else's enjoyment? Because all the people who behind it, right, is not one, Black people, two, not women, Black women. And so like, while there is a war for the control of Black boys, we cannot forget that there's a war in the control for the control. There's a war for the control of the minds of Black women as well and Black girls. And so it's a war on two fronts, on multiple fronts, really. And so like, kudos to those who are working in the community with Black boys. I seen programs, man, where hey, if I can't get nothing from you, I don't care about your son.
Hmm.
You know, that's just the reality of it. I seen programs where if your son ain't from this area, if your son, you know, ain't been through this, nah. My son played football and I hurried up and pulled him out of it because the mistreatment, not by the children, but grown people, you know, and so, and not by outside, but us. But you know, we can say, censorship. But I also got to worry about when my son not with me and he go to my mama house, is my mama making sure he ain't on this and that? And where are they at when they interacting with their friends who don't have that? They don't have nobody censoring things for them. And so like when we talk about this, it's collectively really about all children, because they're going to be influenced by their peers. And their peers going to always seem cooler than us as parents, as grown people. And so they gonna go the way of their peers. And that's just the reality of it.
That's not true. That's not true.
Well, for the sake of time, I don't want to keep cutting y'all off. And I mean, it's almost 2:00. I knew this was gonna kind of go to 2:00 though, because this is a tough conversation. But I definitely appreciate everybody's point of views. I definitely appreciate you guys giving y'all time. Quickly, y'all. One good solution that for me, is keep having the conversations. And if everybody ain't gonna be on the same thing. Find that one thing that you do feel like you can put your efforts to and dive in. So if you can only spare money, find a Black business or a Black organization that's a grassroots organization, fund that organization, okay? If you feel like you tired of going into people's establishments and dealing with stuff that you gotta deal with and your kid, let's build these things in our communities. That's my solutions. We talking about access to foods, community gardens, connect with somebody, get a community garden in your neighborhood. So whatever the thing is that you feel passionate about that's happening to your people, children, adults, whatever it is, dive into it and put some effort behind it and hold yourself accountable. That's mine. Anybody else want to shoot out one quick?
My thing is everybody played a role in where we at right now. What role are you playing to solve that? And help somebody else. Don't just like I'm gonna use me for example. I got an organization to help children in prison, but that's not the only thing I'm focused on. I'm working with all children who have issues and behavior issues or educational issues. So my point is we got to get involved all across the board, man. We done got lazy is my point. We done got lazy. We done got comfortable. We done got comfortable. So just get out there and get involved in your community, get involved in other communities, get involved.
All right, anybody else? No.
I got a suggestion.
Part two.
One of the things I think we all need to do as Black people here, I don't know where people stand on it, but we need to not only learn about racial equity, but we also need to learn about the successes and the wins that can come from racial equity if it's applied and implemented in the way that it's supposed to be done, and not how the Black leadership that you see talking it is doing it, because a lot of them just rebranding projects that was in the pipeline before Ferguson, after Ferguson. They already wanted to do it, and they just, the word is equitable. One of the key terms is equitable. They just throwing it out there. They don't know it. So I'm gonna share this with y'all. Y'all go find out for yourself, and if you don't know where to begin, you can come find me. What my government name is, Justin Eidelberg on Facebook. If you're looking for me on the gram, I'm BURG.J, Berg J. I got something called Nehemiah's Mission and the Delmar Digital Equity Network. And everything I either do is based off of racial equity principles that I've learned from working with racial equity think tanks who work with the White House and some people even global. So everything that I be talking about, it comes off of facts. Because one of the things that the Ferguson Commission report talked about, as well as the commissioners talked about, was learning from best practices and reports and to become the next best practice. And we got some great people here, but we got, like somebody said here, we got a lot of folks out here waffling, who helping us stay, helping a lot of us stay in the positions that we are. And even though being accountable on our own end, we ain't doing it no good either. But it's easy to finesse and get blessed. You know, it's easy for me to finesse the system and get all the free stuff, but that come at a cost. You know, so how can we learn a way to tap into our people's greatness and bring them into this 21st century and 22nd century workforce? So we ain't got to keep chopping trees and picking cotton. And this digital divide, our kids are experiencing right now. They might not even they may not be able to engage in this fourth industrial age in this all around robotics and machine learning. Our kids don't want to sit down and do no coding. If I was a kid, I would, because I can make possibly, depending on what language you know, you can come out making $100,000. You ain't got to take no piss test. You got to do no hard test. The tech world is very welcome of people's differences when you have a skill in a trade that they can benefit from, and not just them, but the globe. You can be your own freelance person. And our kids are being put back. They may not even recover from this year of virtual learning, you know, and I'm just going to shut up and leave it there.
You always say you gonna shut up. No. Oh no need to shut up. Go ahead. That's it, everybody. Kelly, you got one thing, or you like
I'm just gonna say,
thank you.
before we can really move as a collective, we need to work on our own stuff. We need to make sure that when we're showing up in spaces, we do so, we just respect one another. So I'm gonna leave it at that. You know, deal with your own stuff. You got to deal with your own stuff before you can change the world, right? So that's I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you for having this dialogue, Shavannah. It's
Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you guys for being here. I definitely, this is y'all, because I mean, even with the questions, like it's a hard conversation, but it's definitely, again, I do feel like dialogue is the beginning of conversation. So that's why I started the Hood Talks podcast. And then to like kind of go to like me and Kelly were working on safe places where we could be ourselves and authentically discuss things and not feel intimidated or whatever, judged or however, but it does have to happen respectfully. And we have to respect each other's differences. But again, thank you all for being here. Thank you everybody that tuned in to this show. I will definitely be working on a second part or continuously Us Against Us segment because it's deep dive into this anyway. But I appreciate y'all on this time. So much other things are coming up. We got, next week, the Wisdom of the Hood, some great people that will be gracing the stage to talk about the older generation and how we can bridge the gap between the young generation and what those older generation people are doing in the community. Because again, I think it's going to take all of our hands into this to move our communities forward. And that is it. Again, I appreciate y'all. Go ahead, Justin.
Can I add somebody to your OG list over there? I don't know if you reached out to him. His name Lorenzo Petty. I don't know if you know about the Petty family here, but
I don't.
Man.
Give me hip, Justin. Give me hip. But see, there we go, connections, because that's what has gotten the platform where it is now. People have been just doing what Justin is doing, plugging other people. And I definitely appreciate it because, again, it's highlighting that we do have some dope people in our city. We do have some dope things going on in our town. And if we don't change the narratives, of course, we're going to keep getting those bad ones. So, yes, this is why we have this platform here. So keep plugging them great folks. Keep coming on the Hood Talks podcast. Let's keep having these conversations and providing solutions, okay? Because we all I know everybody don't want to win, but I'm trying to win. Y'all on board with winning? The Hood Talks moving towards winning.
I
Okay.
ain't trying to win. I'm waiting on my stimulus,
The
1,400 and
Stimmy's done
everything else.
hit this weekend. What you talking about?
I checked this morning, wasn't that no man. So I'm finna go check. I'm finna go check. And hey, y'all, I'm doing a shameless plug. It's a nice cannabis education place center opening up today at 3:00 on West Florissant.
Okay.
So yeah, today is pre-314 day.
No,
It's out in Delwood. Nah, I said pre-314 day.
oh, free. Okay, yeah.
And Miss Melanie Blanco, and I can't think of the cannabis education center, but I do know it's a cannabis education center. If you know where it's a club right in the little plaza. I don't know the name of it. It used to be like 2 clubs. They merged. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all know I'm scared to come drink in North County, so I can't tell y'all the name of it. But I'm gonna send Savannah a flyer.
Yeah,
And
send me the flyer so I can
I'm
post it
shutting
on,
up, yeah.
on the platform.
How we actually do marketing in the hood.
Yeah. Outside of Schlitz Malt Liquor. So
Yes, give me the flyer. I'll plug it again. We want to shout out to Kelly for collaborating again. You know, we got the Kicking It for a Cause coming up next week. So be tuned in again for that. And definitely we are definitely collaborating to work together to try to create some safe spaces where we can hang, have fun, and still be talking about moving ourselves forward as a community. So all right, y'all, we gonna get out of here. Y'all enjoy this weekend, be safe. That's it.